Well, you just saw Christina Romer on our air a few moments ago, chair of the President's Council of Economic Advisors. She said, obviously, that she thinks the Obama administration is striking the right balance between not being too intrusive in regulation and not going far enough. For his reaction, we bring in Arthur Levitt. He is the former SEC chairman, current advisor to Goldman Sachs, senior advisor to the Carlyle Group, and a board member right here at Bloomberg. Arthur, always glad to have you with us. So what do you think, from what you've heard so far about these proposed regulations? Is the Obama administration striking the right balance?
I think Christine was right. I think the regs that came out, the president's statement, presented a far more balanced program than we had reason to believe only a few weeks ago. I think it is less intrusive than it threatened to be. I have some reservations about the kind of new bureaucracy created by the so-called Consumer Protection Group. And I think the one thing that's missing in all of this is nobody talks about accounting standards. And it's accounting standards, I believe, that brought us to the present situation to a great extent, has not been resolved. The banks still have the capability of disguising what their true earnings, what their true assets may be, in refusing to mark to the market their investment banking activities. That needs to be addressed.
Arthur, let's talk about the bureaucracy. I'm sure you're happy to see that the SEC remains intact, but a lot of people will look at this and say all of the major agencies are still there. There's no consolidation. There's still overlap. How are people to be encouraged by that?
Well, I think that's true. I think that with one exception, the Fed has been given more power in terms of systemic risk, and they probably have the resources to do the job unlike any other agency. And to add balance to that, in response to concerns in the Congress, they created a council of advisors. That's going to be a calming influence, but I think by and large that's the right place to come out. But again, what about accounting standards?
I don't want to ignore the point that you're making about accounting, but I just want to highlight here this idea of bureaucracy with consumer, mortgages, with credit cards. I mean, everybody says it's necessary, and this whole sort of lack of organization, if you like, was part of the subprime crisis.
Where's the Fed? Where's the SEC? They have the resources to do the job that we are giving.
Arguably, they didn't do it.
Well, that's true, but do you address that by beefing them up and strengthening them? Or do you create a whole new bureaucracy? I always worry about that new bureaucracy and its costs, not just to government, not just to the taxpayers, but in terms of the whole system. This will be a very costly process.
Arthur, very quickly, because we don't have much time left, what happens in Congress? Do you worry that this bill is going to get watered down to the point where it's really meaningless?
I think it's going to be modified, but I think this bill has been very carefully vetted with both the private sector, with members of Congress. I think Barney Frank is probably on board. I think Chris Dodd is on board. All of them feared a Fed-centric kind of regulatory powerhouse. This is not that. This strikes the right balance. That's the key word.
All right, Arthur, always glad to talk to you. Thank you very much. Arthur Levitt, former SEC chairman, current advisor to Goldman Sachs, senior advisor to the Carlyle Group, and Bloomberg board member.